I'm waiting for Cooper to start answering.
All right, we're all good, Leslie.
Great. Hi, this is a meeting of Manhattan Community Board 4's Budget Task Force. This is our meeting, our first meeting of the year, where we form our letter in response to the city and the mayor's preliminary budget. We are doing this on Zoom by order of the governor, the temporary order of the governor. And we do have two people of the public. And Jesse, they can ask questions in this meeting or no? Are they?
Yep.
Yep.
Fine.
So this is a meeting. This is our first meeting, like I said, so we can form the letter, our response to the city and the mayor's preliminary budget. And with that, I will address the task force. So you guys, I went over the city's response, as you see, to the budget items. There are a few surprises that we can definitely talk about. Our number one request, which has been our number one request for many years, Harborview, or the redevelopment, it says that it's been granted. So we definitely will talk more about that and see what that means. There are other Harborview requests that were not granted, but I think that's because of the first one. And then, you know, as you go down the board, there are really no surprises with education and parks. So I know we don't normally have a draft letter for our first meeting, or we haven't in the past or the recent past, but I just thought it might be good to at least work off a visual. And also I have a tight upcoming schedule. So this was done also in the matter of time. But this letter, I'm sorry.
It was helpful. It's helpful.
Oh, good.
Very much
Good.
so.
I'm glad.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And listen, like Jesse always says, we're not reinventing the wheel. This letter is framed much like past years, divided by topic or agency. It just so happens our usual top priority housing did relatively well with our asks as bullet pointed near the top of the letter. Our other two identified priorities, at least when we talked about it, in relation to our public survey that we did, public safety. And then we kind of, if you remember, we said garbage, street life, environment, we put those together and massaged that a little bit. Didn't fare so well. I listed them next and reiterated our requests and concerns. And then from there, go down the list. So just so you see how I did this, obviously it's more bullet points. There are some requests on the bottom. If you see that, those are things I did not include in the letter, but I wanted just to give you guys an instant memory jar, you know, hey, I didn't include these, but if any one of you think this is important, we can discuss this and we can include it. Also, there are responses that I figured some of you can give more insight on, especially like Christine with transportation. I think like you can decipher some of those responses. Like, is it BS or is it real? You know what I mean? Like you would know, are they really doing this study?
Yeah, I think it's real. Did we get the link? Did you put that in the Dropbox, Jesse? The response?
Yeah, I mean, I put, so there's the PDF register, which is a PDF form of each agency's response. But today I was able to, what we normally do is have the Excel spreadsheet. So I put that into
great.
So that's
I'll look into it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And really the only thing, just so you know, there, if it's confusing, there's some lines and color font. That's just for me, for details and facts to confirm. If we do go ahead and enter it into the letter, I just wanted to confirm the facts and details as a reminder. I briefly did discuss this letter with Jeffrey, who is good with the general framework, but of course we'll edit the details. Just so you know, I put more in here than probably needs to be, but I want to defer to the people who are in charge of those committees to tell me, Leslie, this is really not a priority for transportation or education. And then it's easier to take things out than to then reformat and fit in. So I worked on that this week. But then again, we can go in a totally different direction if you think it's necessary this year. But like I said, I want to work off a visual. So let's see. Jesse, how do you want to dive in? Should we just start from the beginning, or?
Yeah, should we identify like the 4 or 5 things we are really upset about in any Because we can all have a nice discussion, individually about the things we like. We don't need to be together, but to be together, the value is to say, what are the 4 or 5 things that are not going to be funded that we are really upset /
So Christine, if you notice, that's actually a good point. What guided me was stuff that we've, not only in our budget task force, but that we've talked about over the year, that was stressed in either full board or separate committees. And I highlighted them at the top of each section. As you see, like, let's see, let's go to like public safety. That was a big thing we talked about this year, and nothing was really, I wouldn't say acknowledged, but funded or granted. And I thought we would discuss that. Sanitation, the one environmental ask. Look at parks. I put a lot of bullet points on parks. All those are not going to be in there. We're not going to put that whole list. It's just so that
when we know that he has cut by 3% all the agencies, I think it's important for us to say, in this agency, you can't do it because blah, 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 right? Like, for example, so I don't know, for example, in transportation, we want to do, they have to do the master plan, and they have to do Vision Zero, and they have to do all those things. And bingo, they just cut 3%. That doesn't make any sense. There is no way we can move on his agenda and cut 3%. So, even before we talk about ourselves, I would say this doesn't seem aligned here.
I think that in the beginning, our intro, as you're saying, he's proposing a 3% across the board, allegedly across the board. I mean, when you go to each agency, it's going to vary, okay? But I think in the beginning, in our introduction, we have to put these proposals from the mayor's office in context.
Yes.
Revenue, because a budget has, in addition to expenditure side, it has a revenue side. And the city, and this is not a secret, is rolling in money. That was a choice that the mayor is making on the 3%. There's no budget, necessarily a budgetary reason that he has to do a cut. Okay? There's revenue coming in much more than was expected. And, that so much money is going into reserve funds. What reserve funds are, rainy day funds. And yes, you got to have some rainy day funds, but you don't put $6 billion in a rainy day fund and still have 3% cuts. And so I think we have to have some kind of statement up front about how we're doing this budget, in what context is it happening. And these are some of our let's use some of that revenue coming in, not just.
I agree, Bert. Maybe we can have maybe we could say it needs to be more nuanced, right? There is places where there need to be reallocation of revenue from one part of an agency to another part.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. We have talked about NYPD and retraining NYPD and doing certain things. So I think a cut of 3% reminds me my corporate days where Citibank would say, okay, we're just cutting, you cut the top 10% of your department. And you said, this is stupid. Why are we going to do that? Because it's a lazy way of doing it. Exactly. Instead of looking agency by agency and figuring where the money should be reallocated in order to deliver the best result. And I think we need to call on that. I mean, we said we need more mental health facilities. Well, where's the money coming from? If everybody's cut by 3%, right? We need to reallocate some money from certain agencies to others, or between agencies, to do those things.
I just have a quick question, just because I feel like I'm not understanding something. 3% the mayor's saying he's going to cut 3% across the board or 3% per agency. I'm getting a little confused.
It's the same thing across
Yeah,
the board
everybody
means
gets-
that everybody gets 3% cut.
It's
What he
called,
what he really wants to do with the 3%, he's focusing on payroll. He's focusing on bodies. He wants to reduce the head count. That's what this is all about. He wants to reduce the head count
Yeah.
because under de
Sabrina?
Blasio, it grew. I'm not saying good, bad, where, how, but it grew. And he wants to say, I'm the responsible guy. I want to reduce the head count. We have too many employees.
Yeah, that was my follow-up question.
If you want to have organic expansion of organic collection and composting, you got to have people to do it.
So that's the explanation he's given?
Yes, that's the way Sabrina, that's my interpretation.
Oh, that's your interpretation. Gotcha. But what are they saying? Like, we're just gonna cut 3% because we are in a deficit?
No,
We're not in the
we're not.
We're nowhere near.
Yeah,
the
so that's what I'm saying. So what's the explanation? Because
He
you're
wants to
budget cuts there.
he wants to reduce headcount. I think he actually says that.
Yeah, because in the last 12 years of de Blasio, 8 years, 12 years,
8
Eight.
years.
and 8 years of de Blasio, the headcount has grown faster than ever. And the headcount of the city is much larger than it used to be. And what people will say is the problem is that you not only you are paying the headcount, but you are accruing long-term liabilities with retirement, etc. So the typical corporate discussion is like, well, we're better off not have employees.
so
Jesse?
can I maybe make a suggestion that, if we're all in agreement to this, is that we want to maybe include kind of this conversation, or at least a few sentences or a paragraph about, this philosophy / tactic, whatever we want to call it, and that maybe someone here, whether it be Bert seems to know a lot for many reasons, and then Christine or someone else want to take a swing at throwing that, including that into the introductory of the letter. If everybody's on the same page about it, I guess that's the question. So then,
That's going to be a little different than what we usually do. Because now we're commenting on, a mayor in the city, and it's like you said, Jesse, the philosophy of, overall cuts and not
I
specific
think from the
budget asks, which it's a little, are we in a place to do that? But we can in a place to do whatever we want or say whatever.
Yeah, no,
we
I meant
really.
more like at the beginning. I don't think it should change the rest of the letter per se. I think it's
But like a context.
Yeah, we're talking you're going from the top down and sort of saying, overall, this is our understanding. This is what the budget is, and this is what you're proposing, and what we think, why we think this is what we think about this idea. And then you go right back into it. I don't think we need to. We're not getting into monetary philosophy or
The politics of it. You just
I think we're just sort of
very there's a 3% deficit, and we don't necessarily not even agree or disagree, but understand what is this happening. I would actually even say like we're not in a deficit.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say anything political or make it
again, it's not
controversial.
Yeah, I don't mean to make it the crux of the.
And the fact is that we are in a recovery, and this is not a good time to cut things, right? This is like when you are in recovery, you have to help the city to recover, and there are a lot of things that need to be done.
Well, I think it's interesting, talking with Jeffrey about it's interesting that the mayor, when I saw it, he didn't grant any of the DSNY requests or the police requests, but yet that's what he's talking about, revitalizing the city and people coming back and workers coming back. But if you don't clean up the trash and you don't, I don't know. So it's really a little bit of a contradiction to me of what he's saying and what his objective is, and then not granting this, especially here in this area where we know there are, people are coming back to the office or people are coming into the transportation hubs, which is why I mentioned that at the beginning, saying we're a special district here. You're talking about the gateway to the city that you're trying to clean up. Well, we're it. So help us out type of thing. Like understand that when you're doing your budget, that our district is in that unique situation.
Yeah. Well,
But I
Bernie,
liked Christine's wording of the recovery and saying, if you're going to, we're in a recovery, we do have money. Why are we automatically, why are you slashing?
I'll put, if it's okay, I'll put
A line or two?
Yeah.
With that? Right.
a couple of lines.
would be good.
Thank you, Bert.
So, I mean, I think you guys can either go down the letter line by line if you like, and we can share it on the screen, or if you guys want to break it up into, someone takes, I'm assuming, but maybe something like Christine takes the transportation section.
No, I don't want it.
Never, right. You've changed
Just
your mind
kidding.
completely. Just parks now.
Let's just go down the letter.
Maria, Sabrina can take housing, and take a look at what you did, and
Do we want to have the order is what? The order is based on what, Leslie? What you
You mean
did?
where it's housing, that order?
Yeah.
I just took it from other years.
Oh, okay.
That's, cut and paste. We can
Right.
flip. That doesn't
Do we
matter at
want
all.
to change the order a little bit? This is something where we need to
Sure.
consult with each other.
Reason I put housing up front, and we can talk about this, is because
Well,
it's
more
always
of it-
one of our big asks. Always, always, always. And also we got granted a few things this year in housing. Like housing came up pretty good they said, sure, they're gonna provide, adequate capital subsidies for Hartley House. The slaughterhouse site, is a big thing
Yeah.
for us this past year. They said, yes, we will expand. We are expanding. We have expanded outreach for street homeless, which they have. I don't know,
I think.
Can I make a
Yep.
suggestion? Leslie, now that I think about it and hearing what Christine's mentioning, there's a little paragraph that mentions like the top priorities in our communities. Maybe that something like that should be put up before housing, be in the letter before housing
But,
section.
Yeah, I would even, I'm questioning whether public safety and mental health should be kind of our number one, considering how much effort you have all spent on that, and the fact that we are still not there by a stretch, right? So I don't want to change the general priority of our board, but we are in a special space. And last year, I think we had put the public safety and mental health as like very high priority. Should we?
Well, I think it should match what you guys, unless you guys,
But
feel
I was
very
gonna-
differently, but you should match what you guys did for the statement of district needs tell me if I'm wrong, was housing, public safety, and then transportation.
Okay.
I like Christine's suggestion, but I thought that this is just a response to what our
All right,
requests
you got
were.
it. You got it. Not the time to change everything. Okay.
Maybe next year request, but not.
Yeah,
on
maybe
what-
that's what we should, yes, for next year. I have a question. Jesse, did you know about because I wasn't aware about the Hartley House. Not Hartley House, Harborview.
Right.
Well, again,
Harborview.
I think Leslie wrote it in a really
evening.
good way, because it's a tricky one. So they have released the RFP. They haven't acted on the RFP. So they can say, it's part of their budget to get it done. But last time we have heard from them about it, honestly, was that they were looking to change it to a 70% 30% market rate project and make it 30% affordable, because all of a sudden they decided that the project had to cover all of Harborview's capital needs, which was never part of the, proposal or plan. And so then the thing just sat on a shelf for the rest of the administration.
I don't think you want to say thank you for that, because
Well, she doesn't. I don't know, right, Leslie? I don't think you do. I think you're saying maybe you imply that there's seemingly some, positive
we're
words, but we're following up with them.
Yeah, we are thanking. I think it's premature maybe to thank.
Well, we're thanking them for, it says, our ask was, provide adequate capital subsidy, for the NYCHA Harborview Terrace site, and designate a developer.
But
Which they
adequate
say-
means, for us, adequate meant 100%, where apparently what they want to do is 70% and have
Right, I mean, that's
secondary
nuanced.
funding, right?
No, absolutely. I mean, that's nuanced, I guess, but
Maybe we want to. Okay, yeah, it's up to you guys, but you can find. Wherever.
That's why. I did put language because it's a little bit. Obviously, it's a long process. There's going to be many, right, iterations. So I said, thank you. That's great that you're going to identify a developer. But it's more of, I can definitely change the wording. But I did said we look forward to further discussions as this project moves forward, meaning, let's see what comes out of it. What comes out of your.
I think you may want to ask Joe how you would word that.
Okay.
Because I think he's going to be really on the top of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I certainly don't think we can say, oh, you're saying no, because they're not saying no, but I think we can say, well, we're sort of like, what I think we're saying is like, oh, great. And we all kind of maybe think we can't, let's really hear it.
Right there, say we think it should be 100% funded, right? And then,
right, exactly. Thank you for your attempt, but this is what we want, something like that.
right.
Not that I know what you're talking about because I came in late, but that's the way it sounds to me. No, thank you very much. Don't try to screw us. Oh, I'm sorry. But this is the plan, and this is what we wanted, and this is how we best serve our community.
I second Alan's motion.
Thank you.
I'll put my
That was
hand down.
good.
I'll use the "don't screw us" line.
The DC.
But Christine, I will ask Joe for just a
Yeah.
good wording for those two.
Yes, he's going to tell you, don't screw us.
Yeah. He might, yeah. Let's see.
A couple of things I've noticed about, one thing is the public safety thing. I think it was a big priority. It was not for many years have we changed our top 3 priorities, and this is the first year we did it. So I think we need to acknowledge that, and not just, we need to, at least if we want to say things are different, and now we're, we need to say that in this letter a little bit. But if we're not, then I think we should make it still a priority. I will say one of the things in there that has changed already is the Midtown business improvement, or not improvement, I forget what it's called. The
Task force, whatever.
Yeah, the NYPD task force thing is gone. And so I think we need to, my understanding, it's being reconstituted under Midtown South Precinct. Not as many officers, but more control from the Midtown South, from my understanding. So I think people are happy that it's being reconstituted. But I do think we can acknowledge the fact that we want this to be, if we continue filling this way, that it needs to be funded, and we recognize that it's no longer what the initial program was no longer in existence. And then the other one, the recovery one, other program, I think is reduced almost significantly to a handful of police officers. So
Say that, the recovery, what do you mean?
I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to look at the letter. We put them all both together. We say the Midtown South Precinct's 8th Avenue Crime Reduction Program.
Right.
It's the crime reduction program that's been cut significantly.
And we asked it to be replicated and expanded. So not only is it not expanded, but
yeah,
they don't even have it anymore.
Yeah, so I think we, need to acknowledge that and, either.
So
advocate
here, what
for
you are
it.
saying is that more of CD4. So we are asking for an expansion, but we are also asking for reestablishment,
Reestablishment. Yeah.
whatever the word is, what to return, whatever.
Reinstate.
Reinstate. Yes, yes. Where it's
Reinstate the funds for that program.
right, which was very successful, right?
We're
Yeah,
still talk-
it's still there, but it's significantly reduced from my understanding. The
But the results, were the results good?
I would have to, I would have to look back and say if there was their numbers were, Midtown South's numbers were really bad. So I don't know if the results would still be bad. I think they were better because of it, but they were still pretty rough.
Mm.
But Jesse, you just said that it sounds like what they've done is you're talking about that that like mobile unit that was on 8th Avenue.
Yeah.
Right. The truck.
Yeah, the truck. And so if Midtown South is going to be having, it sounds like you're saying like Midtown South is going to be having those officers like working from that precinct, or am I misunderstanding? Oh, okay.
I'm talking about two different programs.
Okay.
I'm talking about the way we list both programs in the request. We talk about the crime reduction program and then the Midtown Business District Recovery Initiative. So the Midtown Business Recovery Initiative was its own separate program that had a commanding officer in charge of it. It had about 60 to 80 cops. That has stopped. It is being reconstituted or basically folded into the Midtown South precinct.
Yeah.
And so and I think that people think that's a good thing, generally, because they'd rather have that than nothing. But then the other one, which is the 8th Avenue Crime Reduction Program, which is the truck on 8th Avenue and the additional overtime officers along 8th Avenue and 9th Avenue, is reduced. From my understanding, the truck's gone and it's been reduced to, I don't know, 8 officers, 10 officers. And so
Jesse,
I think
to have that truck is very, very unusual. That truck is usually saved for serious incidents or some sort of right. It's unusual to have that as just commonplace part of a precinct. So I don't know. Because I also think there's language in there about foot patrols, which I think we were getting at, right? That we wanted more foot patrols. So not necessarily that big mobile unit with the big lights on at every precinct or every block, but the foot patrols. But
I'm not advocating.
Mobile unit,
just to be clear, I'm not advocating. I'm just giving you the information.
Yeah, about what? No. I know.
What you guys want to do with it is up to you. But
yeah,
I'm saying that's the most recent data I have from my district service cabinet. So again, I just want to go back to process because we're at.
So yeah, on public safety, are we saying thank you for anything here? There is no thank you, right? Okay.
I mean, not for the public safety. The responses they've given us were not particularly anything much to
helpful,
encouraging.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we need to talk a little more foot patrol, right? That would be good. But you say funding to expand the geographic boundary. If the thing has been half disbanded, I mean, the funding now should be to reconstitute it and supplement it with foot patrol, right? I think that's what we need now. Okay. And then the 9 traffic officers. So we presumably we were getting 31 of them. Then we had a meeting, and then it has all melted down to 2 people at 2 intersections. We went from 31 to 2 with a list in writing, and so I'll give you some language on that.
Christine, for under the public safety still,
yes,
right?
yes, yeah. that section. It was ridiculous,
Good.
right? This was a list on 31, and then we have 2 now.
Yeah.
I mean, they gave us a list of 31. We didn't, you know. Okay.
I
Wanna
think
go
for
on
some
to
reason, there's
sanita-
a feeling, they have a feeling that like the initial wave is done, like the emergency
Yes.
is over.
Yeah.
But in our district, we still have this residue of public safety concerns that would be
Right.
helped by what we talked about, the foot patrol, like you said, on the corners. So, okay, I'll look for your
Okay.
addition.
Do we want to move to sanitation and environment?
Right.
Yeah, on sanitation, I'd like to say something. Just one, we talked about as line, thanks for putting the numbers in the letter, Jesse. Line 3 there on page 3. It's not restore universal curbside organic. He cut the expansion. It really wasn't citywide organic collection.
Hmm.
It was only in certain areas, particularly in like outer borough areas in terms of easier collection. And in Manhattan, for example, in our district, there was planned expansion, but it never happened. He cut the planned expansion. Okay, so it's expansion of it, and it was originally, it was up to each building and but it doesn't matter, the logistics of it. He cut it. No expansion of the program at all. And the composting, forget about compost. And I like the bullet points, but we don't say anything about street sweeping and actual collection. Because remember the whole issue about street sweeping? On the streets where it was used to be twice a week before pandemic, it's only once a week. And we got to ask to restore that if we're talking about maintaining.
Was that
cleanliness.
one of our aspert? Because I took the asks we had, but I can.
Maybe we weren't even aware of it at the time. Okay, yeah. Okay, I'm just talking off the top of my head.
But in the same vein of talking about, we need to recover and you are not giving us the tool, maybe it's in the opening paragraph saying, how could you be, we need to go back to.
The way it was before the pandemic.
Right, before the pandemic.
Not even just as a baseline. We're not,
Right.
There's a whole other assumption. Is that the best, the number of routes, collection routes, baseline, that might not have been the best, but we don't even have that now. So we have to go.
I think we have two problems there that you just described. The second one is we still have a ton of businesses which are closed. And, it's a big problem.
And it's also.
Do they have a program for closed businesses?
It's also something that you raise all the time, Christine, is about physically, like talking about businesses closed, open, whatever. Businesses are not public sanitation. It's private sanitation,
Right.
commercial sanitation, okay? Where physically do you put garbage? I mean, people walk by it, look at all these bags out there, because there's no place to put it other than in front of the building, and they're not going to pick it up till 3 o'clock in the morning. They
Right.
put it out, right? And also, it's the same thing in residential areas. We're asking for new buildings to find a space, basically to put the garbage before you put it out on the street 3 minutes before the trucks come there.
So Bert, I did.
Well, and
We're rolling into a sanitation planning working group.
right, exactly. You can join
Oh, I
that.
forgot we have one now. Thank you,
But
Jim.
the additional thing we may want to mention is the open restaurants there. Because with the open restaurant, the placement of the garbage, the volume of garbage and, rats, etc., is really amplified. And we should have maybe a sentence about that.
So I can do that, absolutely. I did put under
I saw that.
transportation,
right.
Okay.
I saw it.
Specifically, that DOT is assuming a massive new
Yes,
role
yes.
and that the funding.
No, I saw that. That's really good, but I
So you
think,
also want me to put another one just to,
yeah, we need
reminder,
to place
okay.
that because this is a program which is going to be his program, right? And they need to have a plan to deal with that.
I have one of my contacts in DASNY told me they just got a call like a couple weeks ago from DOT being like, can you train our inspectors on how to look for health inspection issues on open restaurants and rats? I was like, good Lord.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, let's keep on moving then. I
So
think
the sanitation, Bert and Christine, and anyone else, the paragraph reads, going into our asks, regular DSNY services are cut. And with them being cut, it's proving detrimental to the health and recovery of our districts, and they must be fully restored. And then I go into our streets and sidewalks are
Yes.
overflowing, blah, blah, blah. Do you think that's strong enough, or do you want me to even make it stronger, or with what you were saying, Bert?
I would phrase it, they should be restored at least to the pre-pandemic level. Leaving it open, that maybe those even warrant the best. But at
I
least
do
the
like the framework
pre-pandemic-
that you use in recovery though, since we're gonna frame it like that in our 3% budget cuts. So I think recovery, should be the main language.
Got it.
I
And
agree
I
with
would-
what they were saying. Sorry, I don't know if you heard me. I was just saying that I agree with what Sabrina and Bert were saying. Sorry.
Okay, do you want to, we don't have to do parks next. I just put it there. And obviously we're not going to use all these points on every single park thing that was denied because it's pretty much commonplace. So I don't know if you want to put transportation instead of, or education and flip it, or, I mean, we can go along the points now and edit out or add, and then we can flip whole sections later. That's very easy.
Okay.
Can I just add that I think under the way I read it, and maybe it's just the way I read, but I thought it was a little jarring to go into environment without some type of header. So I think just because you have sanitation and environment in there, I think it'd be good maybe to do its own little header about the
A
environment.
separate, you know what? I'm glad you said, I was thinking, I was vacillating on if we should put it all in environment, but if you said that, that's fine. I can do
I just think
environment.
I think if we want to be saying this is our environmental ask, we don't have a lot of environmental asks. So I think we should, if that's going to be it, we should just definitely make it sure it has its own header.
Okay. Do you want to keep organics in DSNY or put it in environment?
No, I
Keep it
think
in
organics is it's under DSNY, so you keep it
Gotcha.
there. I just think in terms of just starting off that paragraph, at least, just saying that now we're talking about environment and it's why it's important. It deserves its own heading.
Was environment in our 10 priorities of the budget to ask? I believe so, right?
Yes,
It was
we
number
did.
2.
Short power.
2 or 3.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, I don't know how everybody feels. I mean, Leslie, you're the co-chair of the committee, so for parks, so you should sort of pick out the ones you think are the,
Okay.
the priorities.
Okay. Alan and I can look at that.
Yeah.
I
would just
I'm sorry. That's different. My different committee. Lowell's on. Lowell, I'm glad for your
Alan's on
contribution
parks.
tonight.
Are you on parks, Alan?
I am on parks. I am the parks.
But Alan's on parks too, I thought.
Leslie just missed.
Oh, that's right. Alan's on parks too.
Yeah.
Alan's on there. Aces, parks,
So on transportation, I will fix, there are 1 or 2 things which are maybe which where they said it's done, but it's not done. The ADA, one of the ADA ramp is not done. 2 of them are not done. And I'm suggesting that we cut some of the ask reconstructing the 55th, it's like a long-term question. So I may move that to some other things, but I'll change the language. That's fine. That's
Christine, do you mind taking those bullet points that I have?
No, I will.
And then, okay, great. And then
Yeah.
I figured I could count on you. In fact,
I'm
when I was
just
doing
telling you-
transportation, I'm like, why am I even doing this? No,
I'm
kidding.
just telling you what I think I'm going to do.
Okay.
So that, again, we focus on the things which are really,
Urgent, important. Yeah.
urgent, important, and the kind of thing that and I may add a little sentence here to say, we can't expect people to fix all those things and cut the 3%. That seems excessive.
I did, as you see, Christine, in transportation, like you said, I did put a special paragraph about DOT assuming.
Yeah, I see
Which-
that. I don't know whether we should put it up here or under the asks. That just came to my mind, where we could say we have still being asked those things for a long time. And on the top of that, you are going to have an enormous job to do. I don't know.
Oh, you mean you want the bullet points first and just put that?
Right.
That's fine, yeah.
As a closure.
Does anyone else have any
Okay.
comment on that part of it, or?
No, can I just ask something just to divert for a minute? What is the process? I mean, are we choosing exactly what's going back as our priorities at this point? Or is this going back to committees like it used to? I mean, when do we have to get this letter back or something?
This is again, remember, this is the all we're doing is responding to the preliminary budget, and the way we've done it in the last few years is that we take what the preliminary budget is claiming as their priorities for that upcoming fiscal year, and looking upon the responses that we have gotten for our budget requests. So this is a 30-day turnaround. There's really no time. We've never sent this out to committee. And so we'll be picking this back. We'll pick up the next fiscal year come September and October as our normal process.
Oh, because I recall, maybe it wasn't last year because we weren't meeting, but I thought we used to go back to committee at some point and then provide a list of priorities to go back to the administration. Or am I confusing that with something else, maybe?
I think you're confusing that with maybe in the past, we used to put on you guys putting out sending me questions for the thorough budget consultations in around June or July, which we could certainly do it. We could certainly do again. We are back doing that. We never stopped, but it was sort of, kind of truncated because of everything that was going on. But I think that's maybe what you're thinking about. With the
I sort of remember discussing this with the committee about after getting the responses, we would come up with a list of priorities that was part of our response at some point, unless I'm just confusing it with something. So
what you can do, Alan, is
committee,
take the list and the response and then send it to the committee. I mean,
I guess
you could certainly do that on your. You could certainly do that on your own. That's your prerogative.
So are we meeting again? So this letter, our response is going to be at the next board for a vote.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So are we going to be meeting again, or what?
That's up to you all.
Or not.
That's up to you. So we did it a little bit different this year in that Leslie created a draft letter in advance to you guys to use as a baseline for a number of reasons. One, it's a very tough schedule to get all done, but two, that Leslie's got some scheduling conflicts. So, if everybody feels comfortable on basically voting on the letter with amendments that, I'm assuming, Leslie, you're taking notes.
Wait, what? Yes, I'm taking notes.
She's going to be recorded.
Then we can vote out the letter as is with the amendments agreed to, and then what Leslie will do is produce that for in time for exec. Exec will have to review it, the full letter, then it'll go to the full board. If we rather you know, we have in the past met right before exec. The budget task force would meet at like 5, finalize any, between now and then, getting changes in and all that kind of stuff, and finalizing the letter then. It's, I think exec would probably prefer to have a draft letter to look at. But you guys can meet again if you want. It's just finding the time to do so.
I mean, we don't have to meet again. We can always do it, by email. But we will. Education won't have a letter to be voted on till probably the next couple of days.
Jesse, I have something right now in my calendar as March 15th Budget Task Force, which is before. Is that still, or is that just a placeholder? Maybe I'm wrong.
I think that was.
It's
I
March
think that was
15 is today. It's the same thing as today, no?
It's
No, March 15th is Tuesdays. It's a Tuesday.
Next
I think
No,
that was
what
just
I'm
a-
saying is that has been moved to today, isn't it?
Oh, I thought it was the post. Oh, okay.
No. I
take
don't
it
know
off.
what March 15th. It might have just been a placeholder.
Gotcha.
No, again, the priorities are still the same. You guys have already, Alan, you guys have already voted on your priorities.
Yeah, right. No, I'm not. I was just trying to get a handle on terms of when things have to be in by.
Yeah, there's with the preliminary response to the preliminary budget, they literally give you 30 days. We're already going to be past the deadline because it just doesn't
We always
work.
are.
It doesn't work with the community board schedule. Like, we would have literally had to put the
Right, I
hearing on at the last full board, and then get something out, retroactively. It just doesn't, it's not a friendly comment period. So it's up to you guys if you guys are, however you guys want to.
We vote. I mean, I'm with you. I think we should just talk about it in exec. I can join. I'm not part of it, but I can join, no problem. I think we already have a material. Like, we shouldn't. I mean, we really need to base it on the request asked, so we can just come up with things that were not there.
Right.
So
Yeah,
I
I
think
just want to be clear, like, we can't do committee business offline. So, I think what we're voting on, if we're all feeling somewhat confident with the draft that Leslie has,
Mhm.
with the amendments that we have added to those so far, Bert's, I'm going to
Yes.
forget something here, but I'm just going literally looking by face. Bert's going to add some sentences to the intro. We're making some changes to the house. We made some
housing.
suggested changes to the housing. We're going to make some changes to the public safety. Slight changes, updates to this public safety thing. Christine will handle transportation. Leslie Allen and Lowell will look at, slim down parks, right? So it's not one section just has lists of stuff and the other one doesn't. And then I think maybe Alan and Leslie can look at education. And if we're all, like I said, if we're all comfortable with that.
and forwarding environment, which we spoke about, but that's just a format issue.
Oh, separate. Yeah.
Yeah. And
These are actually not big changes. I mean, they're, it's
No,
little
no.
things here or there.
That's what I'm trying to say. I think the majority of the work is done, thanks to Leslie.
Thanks. Full disclosure, guys, I'm sorry. I'm going to Hawaii. I feel guilty about it. I didn't want to,
Oh!
so I had to do it. So I felt guilty. I was working on this anyway.
How dare you?
She's got it wrong.
Can
She gets to go to Hawaii because she did
Thank
that.
you.
Yes,
That's-
Leslie, you can
Let
always
me
work on the beat.
Yeah,
let me throw something.
I'll bring my laptop, Bert.
Jesse,
Let me just throw something else. I think this affects parks and education more than it does the other agencies, because transportation, you deal with DOT, they get funded, you push them, they do this, they don't do that. Every year, and Leslie put it in her prefab, we get nothing from DOE. Once in a blue moon, they'll say, oh, we did something. Number one, how do we really confirm that they funded something? That's number one. And number two, most of this stuff is they can't do it right now, And we usually go back to either the borough president's office or we go to council member and say, these are the issues, these are the projects that we need to try to get done. And I know Gail Brewer used to do a whole list of things for schools. And we used to have somebody at Corey Johnson's office who would be, an advocate for the schools. I don't know if that person, I don't know if they have that person in that office anymore. So, and in parks, everything that you've seen on the list is go back to your council person, go back to your council person, go back to your council person. So we're writing a letter to parks to say, hey, these are our priorities. And after the budget is all said and done, are we going to go to our council people and say, hey, parks didn't want to do this, we need you to do that. We need to
Yeah.
the same thing. Because it really
Yes.
affects primarily parks and education. I mean, we always get the same story. You need study. You need to, we ask them, well, when are you going to do the study and when's the study going to be over? And we never get an answer to anything. So, I just don't.
Yeah, but I don't, I'll, like I said to Leslie, and former people have done this particular procedure right here. This is literally, and Alan, I completely agree with you.
No, this is just like, you go through the process and you go through, the formalities of it, because that's where that's part of the city process, I would assume that you do. And then afterwards, you try to push here and there to try to get something for our from the agencies for our neighbors. That's what.
Right, and I think that is the committee's job.
Right.
So, I mean, that we are highlighting the discrepancy between what the mayor's saying is important and what the agencies are actually saying that they're not funding. And so that's what this is. This is a snapshot. This is like,
right.
And then, but going forward, you take those preliminary, we're happy to, I can add this onto the budget, to the agenda for ACES this month as a discussion, and then a real review of it for next month, and have Corey's office, Eric's office come, and DOE come and say, okay, well, you wrote this, right? We've done that before, and that's what we do. And we also know the funding cycle for all of this doesn't necessarily match up to when we get this information, right? And so, they're going to be hacking this out, school by school, project by project, right up to June of,
Right.
So, this is just literally, I think, a snapshot of a proposed idea. Like Bert said, they're going to be having debate. It's going to go in front of the council. They're going to have oversight hearings. They're all going to scream at each other. They're going to tell them, how could you do this? But then it's going to go in closed door conversations, and the speaker's going to negotiate all of this. And, and so I get the frustration, but I think we can certainly follow up with our stakeholders. But I think that would be on a committee by committee basis. I think it'd be too much of a heavy lift to try to do all of that just simply through the budget task force.
Yeah.
And Alan, to your point, and I'll talk about this with Jesse, and I don't know if we should include it or not. So you see the number one education ask, right, was security camera in the school. So when I was drafting this letter, I went back to a lot of letters, not just about preliminary budgets, but thank you letters and everything. And in a recent letter from MCB4, we say, thank you for putting security cameras in all our schools. And then I get the preliminary budget and it says, we are not funding security cameras in all our schools. So, stuff like that. I just, it was just like notes. Do we have it? Do we not have it? But
my memory serves as partial funding. They did one school or two schools out of the list we wanted. So,
okay, I can double check.
There's something in the 5-year plan, which I was going to go back to, which does speak to cameras in the previous 5-year plan, not a new one that you just sent out a couple of weeks back, but there's something about cameras in there. I'll take a look at it. Anyway, okay. Thank you.
Jesse, can I just go over a few things before we wrap up? Is that okay? Or...
Yeah, no, I'm not trying to push people. I just wanted to,
No, it's okay. At the end, guys, did you see, I did a list. It says further discussion also on, obviously we're not going to talk about all these, but these are things that I did not put in the initial letter, but it was part somewhere in our asks. I just wanted to put that there so you guys can see it quickly and refer to it very quickly and say, you know what, Leslie, we really need to talk about tree pruning, or we really need that ferry service in there. These are just points that really didn't have a natural home or wasn't a priority of a natural home, but if you see something, like the 7 train, they say, sorry, we're kicking it to the MTA. Do we want to comment on that? Do we not want to comment on that? Anyway, like like we did a lot. I think the land use committees wanted DOB to enforce a bunch of stuff that they're not enforcing, whether it's sheds, scaffolding, whether it's demolition, all that stuff. And they said no to all of that. Say, sorry, we're not funding this. Sorry, we're not funding that. Do we mention that? Do we not? I wanted to throw it to you guys to say, is that a priority or at least a mention? If not, that's fine, but I wanted to defer to you.
It seems to me that the DOB code enforcement is a one to put in somewhere, because 2 things, because of that, we are losing affordable housing. And, this is a very specific space where it's so ill-advised, because that's the result of that is they're going to have people on the streets. And then they're going to have to go spend money, managing homeless people.
Christine, I think this also is, the demolition is more, I think it speaks more to preservationists type of thing, like meaning.
Well, it's both. I mean, no,
it is.
It's both. We had the example where we lost 12, 20 apartments because, when they were indeed very affordable and the people tried to, and I think Joe has had multiple meetings like in the past weeks about, losing buildings. So I would take it from the housing standpoint. I agree with you, but I would make it a point from a housing standpoint, saying this.
So I can put it as a sub thing in the housing.
Yes.
I could put it as like a sub.
As a short-sighted, very short-sighted, and really very detrimental to housing and affordable housing. That needs to be there. And the police precinct boundaries, I mean, I can make the case that it would save them some money to make those boundaries work, but I don't think this is the priority right now.
Yeah, I think a lot of this is a great list, Leslie. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I was looking at my other screen, so if someone else was lined up to speak, I apologize. I'll shut up.
It is your turn.
Okay. I think it's a great list. I think a good number of those should go back to committee. Yeah. And we should have that discussion. We should be pulling in the agencies to say why is this the response that it is. The one thing the ones that I think maybe you want to add, which maybe you have a reason to not add them because you know more than I do, is that the social workers in schools, at least they listed as being funded in their answers. So I don't know if we want to at least acknowledge to say that there's, again, similar to like the Harborview thing, where it's like, great.
That's Alan's point, I think.
They were funded. I believe they were funded through Corey Johnson's office, and it was just like a one-shot deal or 2 or something. It wasn't like a baseline.
Well,
and
they might
I don't
not
think
yeah. So go on. Sorry.
It wasn't. It was just like, they had some money and they put a couple. I think it was, what was it, PS51 maybe. Got a social worker or something. There was something done, but
I think that's something that we should explore, because a lot of social workers that I know were receiving notifications about including me, about working for DOE. So that's something we should look into. I mean, Jesse already made the suggestion of having DOE come to committee.
So I just was going to say, I think it's something that I think it's an important thing, and I think it's a big request. And I think if they're saying they funded it, that means they're saying they're funding it for FY23, which is going to start in June. So I think it would be good to maybe kind of put a pin in that and say that on the letter, saying, you're saying this, that's, great, but we would love to get more clarity as to the longevity, or, however we want to say it, similar to the Harborview language, which you're saying.
Right.
Like,
I'll just put that in the education and I'll say, thank you for this. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the rest of the stuff is all really good. I think it's just like Christine said, I think it's maybe not the super priority, but certainly a committee follow-up, it would be really.
So not in
What
this
about the
letter.
new firehouse EMS, which is something that has
Yes.
been committed?
Yeah. Well, the problem is it's not a budget thing, so we can certainly put it in there. It's
Why isn't
literally
it a
cited-
budget thing?
Well, because they have to cite it. Sure, there's a financial component to citing it.
But I think they
But-
cited it, and we were
The
just
EMS
waiting
is
for,
cited.
we
They
were
didn't-
waiting for the Port Authority to
Now,
finish
the
their project.
EMS is cited, but not a firehouse.
No, not the fire. I'm sorry. I'm
Ah.
only talking about the EMS station, not
The
the fire.
EMS is cited, but not the
It is
firehouse.
cited.
No, it's not cited. I'm going to be clear. EMS is
Ah.
not cited. That's the problem. FDNY needs to say we are like, we want to put a firehouse there now, and that's what citing is. What we have,
Oh.
what we have is a commitment by the developer saying we'll build this whenever FDNY tells us to. What we need the FDNY to say is we want to build this now, which then triggers the EIS for the Hudson Tunnel project, which then says, oh, they have to mitigate that. So that's the whole thing.
I thought they had committed to it, no? They had?
The developer committed to building
Yeah,
it.
the developer, I know.
Once the land
I
is
thought that
there.
was in conjunction with fire. So
No.
they're still out there then.
Yeah, there's still we're still talking about an EMS station maybe in a decade from now. Whenever the tunnel project ends. So I think maybe Christina's right. I think we can add that into maybe public safety. If you want to throw that at the end of public safety and say,
Mhm.
we need the FDNY to cite the new, I can throw a sentence together, Leslie.
Yes, if you could, because it seems that it's
Because
very.
we wrote a letter on it and we never
Oh,
got it back.
this
It was
is
one of
a
these things that,
good
again,
thought.
was one of those, Corey Johnson's gonna figure it all out and
And it didn't.
he didn't.
Leslie, if I had to select what would go back into the letter, but I feel like it shouldn't just be my decision, but it would be the delivery meals to seniors, the social workers in schools, DOB code enforcement, and Harborview. And I'm actually wondering, the Harborview elevators and improvements, we already mentioned it. It's already mentioned in the letter. How come we don't just include that portion as well?
Well, the first thing that the meals is actually, all these are not denials. The meals was actually approved. I just didn't know if the age that they actually, they're doing that. I just didn't know if it was worth a thank you. Do you know what I mean, Maria? They didn't deny the home delivery meal.
They said it was funded.
They said it right. Approval of this request, I'm sorry, my mistake. Approval of this request depends on sufficient federal and state funds. So they kind of said either way, nothing.
They punted to the state and the.
Yeah, it was like they're
I
saying it's
understand.
it's not under our purview.
That's
And what
why I
else? I'm
think,
sorry, you said?
I'm sorry, I think that's why a lot of this stuff is kind of nuanced.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why I say it goes back to committee, because that's where the committee you can pull in.
Really dig.
State electeds, you can pull in someone from Jerry's office.
So
and
I
say-
think on EMS, I would advise for the same thing, Jesse, that we need to send it back to committee. The question is which committee?
Mm.
Because
So-
it's, just because we need people which are going to push for that stuff in a consistent way. I mean, just putting it in the letter is not going to make it happen, right?
Christine, I was thinking I can do it,
Right.
except for the EMS. Jesse will do that. I will write a note to each committee head, most of them are here, but saying, hey, these are just some topics we
Right.
asked for that either we're funded, we're not
Right.
funded, just to give them, I'll send one. And so I'll say, hey, if you want to discuss this in upcoming agenda items, be our guest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, Jesse, you were going to say something.
Right.
No, I was just going to say, most recently exec wrote a letter, I believe it came out of exec, about this to the EMS thing. So we could easily take a line, but I'm fine. I agree with Christine. Like, again, I said that unfortunately, we've never gotten a response to this letter in all of my years here. So like, they're not going to respond. So we're not going to get, I don't want
No.
us to feel like we're wasting our breath on this particular
Yeah,
topic.
exactly.
So that's fine. We can definitely follow up separately.
So we're not going to add it to this letter.
No.
EMS, okay.
I think
Great. I think
We're good.
we're
Well,
okay. I think that was great.
yeah,
Well, it's because you did all the work.
That you guys are really the best. Seriously, you guys are great.
I will say, since we do have people from the public, I would make sure that
Yes.
they,
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
We have 3 people from the public. I see 2 names, but then there's one with the number. So, but if any of the 3 of you would like to comment on anything we discussed, anything in the letter, please raise your hand, feel free. We would love to address it.
you just have to raise your hand on the bottom of the screen. I think if you're calling in, it's either *6 or *9. I always forget. One is mute and one is raising your hand.
No, we don't want to force anyone to speak that doesn't want to
All
speak,
right, well, there we go.
but okay. I guess we're good. Guys, thank you so much.
Oh, oh, oh,
Whoa,
What?
whoa, whoa, whoa,
Am I
whoa.
doing something wrong? Oh, we have to
Well,
vote.
I wasn't sure if you said goodbye.
Sorry,
Yeah,
I'm
you got
off.
to vote on something.
Are we voting on something?
Leslie, when are you leaving?
The
No, we have
17th.
to vote first.
What are we voting
Let's
on?
vote.
Someone needs to make a motion.
I will make
a.
I will make a motion. I move that we hold the next meeting in Hawaii with Leslie.
I second that.
Me too.
All those in favor?
Who's paying?
Well, it comes out of the community.
By the way,
Leslie.
added funds
Leslie.
to the community board is on the list.
I move that we adopt the letter as written with the modifications discussed.
Second.
And second, and we're going to review and accept, right?
Education will be submitting a new letter.
Yes,
probably
this is
the next
Sabrina,
couple of
this
days.
goes to exec.
A lot of crosstalk. Yeah, we'll be submitting the letter to exec to be reviewed at and voted on out of exec like we normally do. We always do that every year. And then the letter would normally be posted at our website the week before full board.
Let me ask you a question. Are we limited to the number of paragraphs or words to these narratives before the request?
Yes, this should be very small.
How small?
I'm just
No,
kidding.
seriously,
Try to
because
make it small.
I'm meeting with my co-chair either tomorrow or the next, not tomorrow, Wednesday,
Right.
Thursday. We will have a new letter. It may be very similar to the one that said there will be changes to it. But I just want to know when I need to get that back to you.
You're going to have a new letter? What do you
don't
mean?
understand.
A letter for what, Alan? I'm sorry.
That goes into this letter.
Oh, a new part.
The narrative, the education narrative.
The education.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
A new
oh,
section, a revised section. That's what you,
The revised education section.
oh,
It may be
Good.
similar, maybe, some of the points will be in the new one, but I'm sure there'll be some changes.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I
And
think if,
are we picking out a certain number of these requests as priorities, or whatever's there? Can we add some more, or? is it-
no, you can't add anymore.
no. I mean, you're only using the
Hey, what
priorities
do
that
you
we've already.
mean?
I'm talking about the process.
Yeah, you're only looking at the priorities that you've already made from the.
Exactly,
previous-
that's what I'm saying, but.
But I'm saying,
there-
I think what we're all agreeing to, or at least that was from my understanding, is that we are limiting the list on this letter to just the top few priorities, similar to what Leslie's already done. So,
Right, but what I'm saying is, how many is that few? Is it 5? Is it 8? Is it 9? So,
what do you
I'm just,
want
It's
to?
4 at most.
Four, let's go with 4.
let's go with 5. How's 5?
No, but because
like round
Alan,
numbers.
if there
I
are
don't
too
like
many
round
things here, then everything get lost, and then another committee is going to
so-
say, we want more. And then we have too many things. We're trying to be selective.
Okay, so we'll cut down whatever it is, or so 4 is the
Right.
limit. to the
I mean,
number of
Alan, for
priority requests
education,
that go
a
in
lot
with
of-
this letter. That's what-
Alan, for education, a lot of these asks have been repeated and repeated and repeated asks. So,
Sure,
I mean,
no, absolutely.
a lot, we
Yeah,
can
That's why,
prioritize.
that's why there might be a priority that maybe, hasn't been asked a million times. And it's still under study. I don't know, maybe they're still studying it.
Okay. And if you want a new narrative for education, you can get that to me and I will definitely edit that in.
So, yeah, Leslie, do you have a deadline by which you need the information so
Right.
that you can go on vacation without thinking about that?
Right.
Say that again. I'm sorry, Christine.
Do you have a deadline by
Deadline.
which you need?
Oh,
our input?
Yeah, get everything to me by tomorrow. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
No, I mean,
Yeah,
listen,
you
I
did
go
this
away on the
time.
17th. I can do it next weekend. If you get it, you know, you have
Okay.
just all week. We're
No
talking
problem.
little, I mean,
It'll
these
be a
are
couple
little
days.
change, not
Okay.
huge changes, so
Let's say
Leslie, do you
let's say
need me?
Friday, right? Friday, is that good?
sure, Friday.
Friday's
Okay.
good.
Thank you,
Leslie,
Jesse.
do you need me to
Okay.
get in touch with Joe, or you're going to reach him?
I can talk to him. I'll call him
Okay,
about the Harbor View line.
okay.
Okay, guys, so everything that
We
we,
need,
We need to
yeah,
vote.
sorry. Come on.
right, I would say everything that we listed, we will be voting on and, you know, all the changes. We already have the motion
Second.
and yep,
Yes.
Sabrina and Bert seconded it. So let's see with a show of hands. Eyes, great,
Unanimous.
unanimous,
All
perfect.
right.
Thank you, Jesse.
So
Anything
much.
else I'm missing? I
Just a
think that's
motion
it,
to-
right?
And thank you,
motion to
Leslie.
adjourn if you want.
Doing the letter.
Thank you, Leslie. Beautiful.
Yeah, of course.
Maria, Maria, what's the matter with Maria? Oh, she's saying goodbye.
She's
Bye,
gone.
guys. Thank you.
911.
Good night.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.